Nos estamos preparando para nuestra próxima reunión. Trabajando en una nueva plataforma para hacer tu experiencia más amigable e intuitiva. Ya podés agendar este encuentro. Te esperamos.
Hello, everyone. My name is Magdalena Balcells. I'm the General Manager of APLA, the Chilean Plastic Industry Association. It is an honor for me to be here today moderating this panel from the Primer Encuentro Virtual de Sostenibilidad de APLA. So thank you, Manuel, and everyone in APLA for this great invitation. As you probably already saw in the program, the title of our panel is La Economía Circular, Traspasando Fronteras. And to talk about this very challenging and relevant topic, we have two outstanding panelists today, Dorothee Arns and Petra Schwager, whom I'm pleased to introduce. Dorothee Arns is Director General of the European Association of Chemical Distribution. Dorothee is a German national with a vast experience in business and public affairs. Throughout her career, she had successfully led profit and non-profit organizations. Her professional career in the chemical industry started in 1995 at BASF Chemicals in Ludwigshafen, Germany, where she held senior management positions in various areas like marketing, sales, e-business, and controlling, among others. In the non-profit area, from 2006 to 2011, she worked as Director General of the European Solvents Industry Group, ESIG. After that period, and from 2013 to 2019, Dorothee served as Executive Director of Petrochemicals Europe at Fecc. During all these years in Brussels, she had built up an extensive network of contacts within the European Union institutions and far beyond. On June 1st, 2019, she was appointed Managing Director of the European Association of Chemical Distributors. Dorothee studied in Germany and in Ireland and Spain, and holds master's degrees in business administration as well as in applied languages and linguistics. Now I'm going to introduce Petra Schwager. She works at UNIDO as the Chief of Energy Technologies and Industrial Application Division. Petra has more than 20 years of experience in managing international technical cooperation programs and networks for inclusive and sustainable industrial development. She has a vast experience in resource efficiency, sustainable energy, eco-industrial parks, and performance-based circular economy models. She has worked with governments, private sector, NGOs, and academia in more than 40 countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America, Central and Eastern Europe. In her current position at UNIDO, she promotes the uptake of frontier energy technologies in developing and transition countries. She develops new business and cooperation models to impulse the transfer of low-carbon technologies for productive use and poverty alleviation. Recently, she designed and initiated UNIDO's Global Partnership for Green Hydrogen Application in Industry. She studied economics at the Vienna University of Economics and Business Administration and Environmental Management at the University of London. Now, I would love to start this panel by asking Dorothee and Petra the following question. What does sustainability mean to you?
If I may start, Petra, I hope it's okay for you. So first of all, many thanks for the kind introduction, Magdalena, and to APLA for having us or having me, and to the audience for taking the time to listen in. Yeah, that of course, it's a big question, Magdalena. Sustainability has a lot of facets. And a part of it, I think we know already from former times. So it is about resource efficiency, but that is only one part. And I'm pretty sure Petra will build on that and come into that kind of link afterwards. So commodity chemicals, for example, had a competitive advantage, at least in Europe, with high energy prices, if they were extremely energy efficient. If the raw material with our high prices here in Europe are more or less a competitive disadvantage, it was always useful to make optimal use of them. So those parts of sustainability are certainly there for a while already and were part of a business model. And some people sometimes confuse sustainability with recycling. So recycling is also a part of it, but it's not a one-to-one equality, like it's equal to recycling. So sustainability is first of all about people, planet, and profits. But it is also about supply chain efficiency and cooperation, and it really tackles or it affects all the different parts of the whole value chain of all the processes we have in the chemical industry, starting with raw materials, for example, more diversification, production. There we definitely have the resource efficiency and the energy efficiency, product design, that we think more of what is happening to the products at the end of their life cycle. Logistics, like don't get ships or trucks back empty without load, is not very friendly to the environment. It's about multi-use and not only use something once, like plastics, use something once and then throw it away. This is completely out these days. And also waste. Use waste as a useful raw material for new production processes and products. So that is how I would define that, but I'm pretty curious how Petra defines it.
Thank you, Dorothee. I think you gave an excellent outline of what sustainability is. I think in order to bring sustainability to life, we also need business models, because sustainability means sustainable from a point of view of economics, environment, and also social. So in my work, I've worked for 20, no, not 20 years, but 15 years to build up national cleaner production resource centers. And in this work, I was always looking for new business models that could bring together these different interests. And for me, chemical leasing is one of them. And if you just allow to outline with a few words what this is all about, because this is also where my cooperation with Dorothee started. We were looking, chemical leasing, just to give you a bit of an insight, always needs two, always needs two, the supply of chemicals and the use of chemicals. So in a normal business model, the supply of chemicals is interested to sell as much as possible. And the user is interested in using as little as possible. And this is because the basis of payment, so what we are paying for is always on quantity. It's not on the function. It's not what you're thinking, why do I need the chemical for? What do I need the chemical for? So we are turning this around now and say, okay, you're selling solvents. What is the aim of a solvent? So the aim of a solvent is to clean. And so the basis of payment now in the future is, for example, the metal piece cleaned. And this consequently brings in a more efficient use of the chemical, because the chemical provider is now responsible also for the application. While this application takes still place in the user, in the company of the user, and the workers are going to be trained on chemical leasing, the income will be on using less and more efficient chemicals. And on the other side, there's the benefit of the user to have better services, to have access to new innovations, because before that, these innovations would not have come forward. So in a nutshell, and this is also aligned with the new thinking of circular economy, we have to get away of this selling quantities and selling functions. And this is also what this business model is about, and see that we bring everybody together from the economic part of view, from the social part of view, and from the environment part of view. And we recently had an award, and I just would like to thank Dorothee and her company once again for sponsoring a specific award on women-led initiatives. And we are very grateful for this, and I think we all would like to see more women engaged in our undertaking, and we will, from our side, we really want to encourage this, bringing women forward. Thank you. It's also part of sustainability, isn't it?
Indeed.
Back to you.
It definitely is a part of sustainability. I was very pleased when they invited me to moderate this panel, because it's only a female panel in a world. I mean, the chemistry world is a very male world. So by starting with that, it's a good start. And you mentioned very interesting things. Dorothee talked about people, planet, and profit, which is not always easy to put all of them together in a successful way. And then to make things even more harder to establish, Petra mentioned new business models where quantities are not the issue anymore. So linear economy is out, and we have to go for another understanding of the business models where the function is what's relevant. And I'm pretty sure you are aware of the kind of challenges that are behind of those proposals. So what do you see are the challenges and some ways to take care of them in these different views that are you showing us today?
That's of course a very interesting question, Magdalena. Let me start with the challenges, and then I would like to highlight the opportunities, because of course you can see every question more like an opportunity or a challenge. In terms of challenges, it is of course a completely different kind of setup, and you just mentioned it, Magdalena and Petra, beforehand. It will be interesting on a political level, because all our economies are actually based on ever achieved growth. So economic growth is the prerequisite for social welfare, standard of living, and so on. And circular economy and sustainability means first the environment as basis for our living, also in a couple of decades from now. And of course, a circular economy or a low carbon economy still carries the word economy in it. So somehow we must also be careful not to, let's say, destroy the industrial backbone, but at the same time shift the importance of certain topics. So that is definitely a challenge, also because it requires the cooperation of the entire value chain. So the issues, and plastic is only those, but there are plenty. Low carbon future is another one. The issues are so big that one sector alone cannot solve them anymore. We all need to work together, and not only the industry, also the consumer. The consumer must also take into account that some of the product qualities might possibly change, that some of the products will change, that also waste collection is of utmost importance, and maybe one or the other product also get a little bit more expensive. So is the customer then really prepared to pay that? And I think we see with the young people, the young generation, yes, there is a strong preparedness. And actually sustainability is not only something which comes from the regulators, but it comes from the consumers who are asking for that. It comes from the young generation. Nobody wants to work for somebody, for a company or an organization which is seen as unsustainable. So it comes from various sides. So that is, it's a must, I would say. Now, the opportunities is that, of course, new products, new processes always bear the opportunity in them to develop something new, to enter new markets, to enter new segments, to diversify. And especially we as distributors, we have a very good market know-how. That is our DNA, or in our DNA, that we know to connect the dots. So if there is a product which is new, then usually we would know, there is a value chain where we could still put it in. So I think there are definitely a whole series of sectors who can benefit from it. With the business models, and Petra has mentioned one, if you implement it in an efficient way into the business models, I see that as a big opportunity. And we all see at the moment with floods, with hurricanes, with bushfires, with melting glaciers and so on, that we actually have no other chance than to work well with our environment and treat it friendly, because otherwise we will be done and the costs will be much higher for all of us than if we do this do sustainable business and also product practices in a decent way. And the other question is, of course, that is something we answer still. If we have so much electrification as planned, where does all the renewable energy come from? What we see in Europe is that we try to electrify sectors like automotive industry, chemical industry, steel industry, and a couple of other electricity intense or energy intense industries. The question which is still unanswered, where does all the renewable energy come from to make this happen? And there we have different approaches like hydrogen and so on. And I know that Petra is very much involved in that also for the United Nations. But there is a lot of potential which we still need to implement somehow.
I would,
Petra,
if I may,
you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to come to touch upon the first part of your answer and bring in also the points of the very relevant point that the end consumer cannot be left out in this equation. And we have to understand that we have an enhanced communication system. We have blockchain developments that allow a consumer also to check more on the products. So these two elements are will make it, I really hope in the future, a bit more difficult to do some greenwashing that we unfortunately also see. And and there will be, and I hope there will be also more educated consumers that are aware of this fact. This would be one part. The second part, I think that it needs a shift, and Dorothee has already touched upon this. What do we really want? I mean, do we always want to continue consuming quantities? Our planet is just not made for this. So do you want to have a car, or do you want to have transportation? Do you want to have a room, or do you need to buy an apartment for this? I could go on and on and on with this, but this is also the basis for the chemical leasing. And I think you could ask this in many parts of your daily life. So I think that this new shift of thinking needs to be done. In regard to the, if I may, just on the energy part, because I have taken over a new division on energy technologies and industrial applications in the energy department. So I've shifted from the chemicals more to the energy sector, while I see both are having a lot of links between, there are a lot of links between chemicals and energy. So what we see in the debate around hydrogen, and especially green hydrogen. So green hydrogen means hydrogen produced from renewable energy sources through most likely electrolysis. There's a lot of discussion on this ongoing, but nobody's really clear on what green hydrogen means and what does it mean for export and trade between the countries. So this is a global issue. And same as sustainability, it is also a global issue. It needs an open, transparent global debate. It needs clear framework conditions, and it needs guidelines, and it needs standards. And I think the same is true for the chemical sector. So we are aiming to work on a global standard just to define what is green hydrogen. And this, and an embedded element of this is, where does the energy come from for the production of the hydrogen? And this comes from renewable energy sources, which are not yet available at everywhere at the same level as we would need it. So in Latin America, especially, I know Chile, Brazil, Argentina are very much betting on this export. And it's very much needed. So we are working on this in the new global program, but also, and we want to avoid a bit what happened in other fields, that just a commodity is exported, and I see green hydrogen as a commodity, and little value added stays in the country. So we are building up also new models that green hydrogen is applied in local industries in the countries that are producing it. So not just export, but also use of it. Sorry, it was a bit broad, my answer, but this is my new field, and I know it's a very hot topic for Latin America. Thanks.
Dorothee and Petra, it was wonderful answers. I'm fascinated because both of the topics you work on are quite technical and difficult maybe for the common consumer. But then again, we really need to touch bases with the consumers. We really need to work collaboratively. And we really need to change our consumption patterns. Otherwise, it won't work. So I think the beauty of all this, just hearing you speaking about these very difficult and findings and topics you're working on, that it touches all of us as common consumers. So I would like, as an inspiration for the day, just to close this panel saying thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge with us, and for inviting us to think how that knowledge and our conscious as common consumers can make a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.